and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name is Sean Bell. I'm joined by James Farley.
Hello.
And Matthew Murray.
Hello.
Housekeeping. Rezzed is this bloody week. Are tickets even still available? I sort of assume it must have sold out by now.
I don't know, in all honesty.
Okay. Well,
I'm sure they will be.
I mean, if you listen to this show and you are going to be at Rezzed on Saturday, you probably already know we're doing a live show at 4 p.m. Should be a lot of fun. After that, we're going to meet at the Minories. Minories, not Minories. We'll get to that in the questions section. Which is a pub, which 60-second walk from Tower Hill Tube Station at about 6:30 in the evening. We'll be there. I'll just be having my dinner. So if you want to come and bother me, that's fine. I mean, I get it. Just they do food, right?
Yeah, they do food. I've just checked tickets wise. Yeah, you can still get tickets for all the days. You can't. Okay. Multipass are like running low, but as of recording, you can still get tickets for Saturday.
Oh, fair dues. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't already bought your ticket for Rezzed and you've been considering it, it is very good, regardless of whether or not you're coming for us. Yeah, it's just a nice show. If you've seen pictures of other expos and think it looks like a big warehouse full of sweaty nerds, it is, but Rezzed is not so much like that. What else? Streaming schedule. So James is off on his hollybobs soon.
Yeah.
So there's no Deadly Premonition for a bit. But Matt is streaming Bloodborne every Sunday at 8:30. British summertime, not GMT. That's changed now.
Yeah. I wonder if this will be the last time we have to change it, because like Britain agreed that they would stick to BST, I think. But
did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was like a European thing, and who knows what's going to happen. But it would be nice if we'd stuck to the same time all year round. Yeah,
it always upsets me around E3 time, where everyone's like, here's all the conference times in GMT. It's like, no, don't want it in GMT. I want it... But, so Matt plays Bloodborne every Sunday at 8:30. Tuesday, I play a mysterious indie game at 9 p.m. I don't actually know what I'm going to play this week, so that's going to be interesting. If you have Amazon Prime, and let's face it, who doesn't, you also have Twitch Prime, which means you can subscribe to a channel of your choice for free, and it gives them a little bit of money. Why not? Choose us. I mean, who else is good on Twitch? Literally no one. It's just us.
No one.
So sorry, don't argue. It's fine.
And if you do have Twitch Prime and Amazon Prime, right now you can get a year's free Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah. But it's really weird, isn't it? You get like the first 3 months now, and then the other 9 later on.
Yeah, in
or
3 months'
something.
time you claim, and you can claim the rest in 3 months. In 3 months' time, you claim the remaining 9 months. Also, so this doesn't work for family accounts, but it does stack. If you've paid for a single membership, this will stack on top of your existing one. So, well worth doing.
Worth having.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, plus they just give out like free games and stuff.
Yeah, free games every month. Yeah,
and if you play Warframe, guys, a lot of free Warframe stuff going on.
I think Her Story is part of the new ones actually this month, which is fantastic.
Really? Yeah. Cool. Right, that's it. Feedback.
Let's get on to it. Last week we talked about some of the games I can stream. Someone suggested Soma. John has emailed in. Just a quick plea not to skip Soma, as it's an outstanding bit of science fiction, and I think you'll all get a kick out of it. But especially don't pass on it because some of the concern about playing a no enemy version. The enemies in Soma are much like the combat in Deadly Premonition, added because that's what games are supposed to have, not because they belong. I played the version before disabling it was an option, and the enemies are simply not integral. In fact, they actively distract from the narrative by adding frustrating hide and seek segments. Soma has a story full of existential dread, dealing with themes that are genuinely creepy. It didn't need jump scares or chases, so please, if the premise is interesting to you, please give this gem a chance.
Yeah, fair dues.
That does make me want to play it more, because I heard it was horrendous. But
is there? Is there any merit? I mean, listeners, I'm throwing this out to you really more than these guys. But like, is there any merit in like me and Matt both streaming it independently on different days and then not talking to each other about it? Or is that just rubbish? I don't know.
It's certainly an interesting idea. I mean, yeah,
but it does mean everyone like watching us both play it twice.
Yeah. Well, I quite like watching streams as well.
Maybe that's just
I have to hold off.
True. Yeah, we'd have to like. Yeah. I mean, that might be a shit idea. I don't know. It's just.
It might be. Let's see what listeners think. I'm up for anything. Last week we talked about like the Nintendo Direct and the Nindies one. I mentioned a Stranger Things game at a time. Neither of you two can remember, and I didn't Google it, but yeah, Athene Allen says Matt is correct on the Stranger Things game. The second series had one which was a phone game.
Okay.
That's why I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
of course.
But it's really good.
Yeah, I heard it's okay. I mean, I looked even at the phone game. I looked at it, and it didn't look terribly impressive. But it's out
Did you
there.
download like
So
a crate of
right.
energy or something with it? You know.
Probably. Well, obviously, we've talked about Google Stadia in recent weeks, and may just be one of the last few tweets about it. But Andy Hamilton at Andy Hero on Twitter, please stop letting Matt chat shit about Google and Microsoft being able to magically fix latency. The fact they're touting crossplay is madness. Playing any multiplayer game on a delay against other non-delayed players is absolutely daft. He also, there was like a big old thread. He also mentioned about the whole fighting game thing. And yes, I concede I wasn't fully aware about the whole like physics thing and how it's impossible given latency and lag and whatnot. So my bad. But Mehmet piped in. Yeah, I was listening to last week's Stadia reveal emergency pod and kept thinking, what the fuck is Matt on the take saying we don't know until we see it? I think that's quite reasonable. Ignores OnLive and PlayStation Now as examples where we've definitely seen that and haven't liked it. Oh my god, like I've seen loads of that sort of tweet and it just does my nut in.
I think it's
I feel
mostly
like there is
just...
there's some middle ground here, right?
I mean, OnLive, like they're comparing a startup, which I tweeted basically a startup from like 8 years ago to obviously one of the biggest companies in the world with millions of data centers around the world. I think there might be a little bit of a difference between how the technology OnLive had 8 years ago compared to what Google are doing these days.
Well, this is it. So there are like insurmountable issues. Like there's always going to be some delay. However, I'm also not going to shout at you for suggesting that maybe Google are just going to be better at this than the others have been.
There's a chance.
I mean, personally, you're really enthusiastic about it. I'm not entirely convinced. James hates it, I think.
I don't hate it. I just think
the way I see it is we just wait and then it comes out, and if it's rubbish, we all have a laugh about it. And specifically, maybe at Matt's expense if he's still really.
Did you see that other thing that was because they were talking about? Obviously, we need like really good internet connections for this, and people were saying, "Oh, well, Google are doing like Google Fiber and everything," but then it turns out they've been sort of like not bothering with that anymore, and they just don't. Yeah, that's not happening. It seems like in the US, so that's a shame.
Yeah, because that started off in one city, and everyone's expecting it to be a nationwide rollout, or maybe globally, but hasn't happened. But I mean, I don't see why my line "we don't know until we see it" is what's so bad about that. Surely that's just the way it should be.
I guess Andy's point is that there are certain elements of it we do know without doubt.
And
certain types of games that aren't going to work.
Like fighting games and Twitch shooters and stuff. But
we also definitely know that Google will collect a lot of data about the people that are doing it. Like that's
certainly will.
That's for certain. That's definitely going to happen.
But again, that's like every internet company does that.
Yeah.
Oh, not to the same extent.
That's the thing, Matt. It's like you can't play that. It's like that, the whataboutery. It's like, everyone does that. Yeah, they do, but to different extents. And like Google are mental about that stuff. They it's so much data collection.
Yeah. And I know data is a thing we should be concerned about, but it just doesn't bother me. But whatever, we've been over my thoughts. I mean, I've got my calendar with Google, like email. Obviously,
we know that you love Google, Matt. We know that's why you're all over this all the time.
But do you have a Gmail account, James?
I do, but I don't use Google.
It. You don't use it. You don't. What are you using? Your Apple Mail one?
No, well, I got my work one, obviously, which I use for like most stuff. Because most stuff I do is for work.
Email.
La-di-da.
My personal email is just just like an iCloud one.
Okay. Anyway,
what's wrong with that, Matt?
No, there's nothing wrong. But I think there are millions of Gmail. Let's not get into it. It's no point. I'm sure it'd be bollocks. Is everyone happy now? Good.
There you go.
Jesse Fuchs. I listened to the new episode, and while I dread Stadia in general, the save states in theory do have a great value in terms of for academic annotations and historical projects like this. And he links to one called Multi-Bowl. There's a Wikipedia page. It does something really interesting. Here's like the brief summarization of Multi-Bowl. Similar to the micro games of WarioWare, Multi-Bowl is a compilation of two-player scenarios culled from 230 commercial games and presented as a minigame collection. The games were first released in the 80s to mid-90s. Each scenario is presented as a 30-second challenge, and the game awards a point to the first player to complete the objective within a time limit. The first player to 10 points wins. Scenarios include killing the other player in the original Mario Brothers or scoring a goal in Sensible Soccer. Each minigame is introduced with a custom screen title that includes objective, game title, historical metadata, etc. And there could be some using that sort of save state stuff could create some really interesting scenarios, a bit like that.
I mean, I suppose the only issue with saying it's good for academia and historical projects, as long as Google keep the games up.
Yes, there is that. Yeah,
that's the you're still at their mercy, so there's every chance that stuff will just disappear, if, licenses or whatever. Or if they just feel like it.
Well, see that. I mean, my main issue with this whole thing was, apart from all the data collection and everything, is the fact that Google get bored quite quickly with projects and just abandon them. And it'd be a shame. People get into this in a big way, and then it's like, we're not doing that anymore.
I suppose the difference is, like, a lot of those other projects didn't require anyone to hand over any money in most cases. Whereas this, like, people will have actually bought things or paid a sub.
Pro license for Google Buzz, Sean. So
okay,
so $10 a month for that thing. James, what would make you happier out of just two scenarios? One, David Cage's studio, Quantic Dream shutting down, or Google Stadia being closed before it comes out?
Probably Google Stadia being closed before it comes out. That would definitely make me a lot happier, Matt. Because David Cage can go about and make his interesting games, and I can ignore them if I want to. But this...
I mean, you won't, James, because you'll play and stream every one like you have done.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. For comedy value. But, but the other thing is more of a pressing problem.
Alex M29 UK finally missed another story last week. Heavy rumours that EA Access is coming to PS4. As a non-Xbox owner, this does excite me. Yeah, there was a shot on a dashboard of EA Access on PS4, which would be brilliant.
Yeah, I'd be well up for that.
Because for £20 a year, it's great. I mean, I haven't actually re-upped my my sub on Xbox, but £20 a year, and you basically get like 10 hours of new EA games when they come out, and FIFAs and stuff. It's fantastic value, really.
Because I subscribed to Origin Access, the PC one, thinking, it gives me access to all of the FIFAs that I need to do the Journey streams whenever that happens. And I thought, and I'll be able to play Anthem when that comes out. Two things about that. One, Anthem's rubbish. Two, actually, I think probably trying to play a FIFA game on my PC and stream it at the same time is probably going to be a bit intense. So that's probably not going to work. So I think I'm just going to sack that off. And so if this was coming to the PS4, that would be ace. Yeah, I mean,
I hope. I mean, the fact is on there. I mean, that's obviously a big. That's a big idea. It's probably going to happen. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't, but who knows? We got some. We got some feedback about Sekiro last week. James was mentioning about using caution in Sekiro fights.
This is why I didn't want to talk about this game, because as soon as you say anything, everyone comes out and says, "Oh no, actually, no, it's not like that." And so go on, continue.
Well, let's hear it. Gary Dunn, read James's comment on using caution in Sekiro fights. I should point out that the game actually wants you to get stuck in. It is possible to get hurt. It is possible to pick at enemies' HP and then damage their posture more easily when they're injured, but this will hurt you in the long run. Some enemies do require you to bring their HP down a bit, but the mastery of combat comes from going ham on the enemy and empowering their counters with your attacks, making it a to-and-fro sword fight. Once you memorise the boss's patterns, they're toast.
Okay.
There you go, James, idiot.
I know, so I was playing it completely wrong, and I might as well just give up. It's
you might
I'll
as
never
well
be able to understand how this works.
Yeah.
And a Pangram soup. I mean, I read this. This is not a great thing to read just before you record a podcast, but I'll read out. Pangram soup. I might be a week late, but bloody hell, definitely don't feel the need to pay Tacoma after Matt's ridiculously detailed and repetitive review. Took longer to talk about the game than it would do to play it. Can you not time box his reviews to 5 minutes and then mute him? I read the Discord earlier today, and there's loads of people moaning about this. I mean, let me be honest, right? I hate what you've been playing because I'm terrible at it. It's just I makes me want to cringe myself to death. I'm really terrible articulating how I feel about a game. I get nervous about it, and honestly, I'm like, I just want it to be over. Last week, I thought, well, I love the game. I'll read a little bit more about it, so I can talk about it in a bit more better detail. And then this happens, so I don't know where to go next.
Pangram Soup, I hope you feel fucking great.
No, it wasn't just him. Like, loads of people on Discord were like saying I went overboard.
Really? Okay,
I haven't actually listened back to last week's show, so
Matt,
I can't
I
comment.
liked it, Matt. I thought it was very informative and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this isn't the time for that.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to go and play the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can't get into the mindset of people who feel the need to complain about like a specific individual on a podcast like that. But I don't know. That's me.
Yeah,
I was not bored listening to you, Matt. I would have.
I mean, I haven't, like I said, I haven't really had time to go back and listen to it. I probably won't bother now.
I was going to say, imagine.
Like I said, I'm always worried that I'm just really bad at bits. So I thought I'll put a little bit more, and it doesn't matter. I'll try and be better. That's it. Follow up. It's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter if you want to destroy me if you're talking about another game this week, or you can email podcast@thecomputergameshow.com.
All right, James, have you seen Inglourious Bastards?
I haven't actually. It's
oh shit!
I've been meaning to,
well,
but I've not.
I mean, you know the basic gist of it, right? It's like some Nazi hunters during World War II. I mean, can I spoil the ending for you? Well, it's not quite the ending, but as good as.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, what happens is, like, towards the end of the film, like, all of the Nazi high command is in a cinema, watching this like awful propaganda film, including Hitler himself, and so basically, there's some resistance fighters who like own the hotel, the cinema, who plot to like lock everyone in and set fire to it. At the same time, the Inglourious Bastards are in there, and they're there like specifically to kill Hitler, and neither kind of knows about the other plot, and basically, so like the whole place gets burned down, and Hitler gets shot to shit, and basically, so there's like this whole sequence where the place is like setting on fire, but also like these two guys are just machine gunning Hitler until like he basically doesn't really have a head left. They just keep shooting and shooting and shooting at him.
Yeah.
And it's sort of gross, but it's Hitler, so it's cool. So basically, I want that, but where I guess all of the Nazi high command are the listeners, and the fire is the news. But I guess also I'm Hitler, and the two guys with the machine guns and the bullets are the news as well.
Okay, so I'm pulling the trigger, so to speak.
You're setting fire to the cinema with everyone in it and shooting me until I have no head left.
Okay.
And Sean is Hitler.
News.
I'll blow you away with some news, Sean.
Thank you.
Here
Please do.
So anyway, okay, it's not been a brilliant week, but it's been there was actually more than I was aware of, but a lot of it isn't very good. There was Kaz Hirai is retiring from Sony.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean he's been there for 35 years. He's still going to be involved though as a senior advisor, and that's that. I mean he's been there since he's been with the PlayStation division since 1995, so it's quite a long time. And the only thing I could think of was the Ridge Racer thing. I couldn't think really of much else to say in the fact that...
What a legacy. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Because we're so disconnected from like what actually goes on. Like, who knows like how much input he personally had? It might have been loads.
Yeah.
It's not, but it's like, because all we see is the press conferences and stuff. Like, it's not like when, Reggie was stepping down from Nintendo and everyone was getting really misty-eyed about it.
Yeah.
This is like a relative non-story to most people, I think, but he could have been just as involved as Reggie was, if not more so.
Yeah. I mean,
so
the only other thing I remember was that picture of him. I don't even think it wasn't even a real picture. It was that faked one of one of those like at E3 conference where he was like at a bar like drinking because like things hadn't gone well, during the PS3 era, things were not going well. Yeah. But I don't really remember much else really. I mean, Matt, do you got anything?
No, I mean, just like the Reggie thing, I had like a lot. I think a lot of people, myself included, love Reggie. Kaz, I never really had the sort of love, but he's been here 35 years. He's, you don't stay at the top of a company or very close to the top of a company for 35 years. If you're not helping supporting the business, hopefully. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, he'd always stepped down as like CEO last year, wasn't he? And it was chairman. So this is just. Yeah, he really is backing out. And I think, I'm not sure if on this quote, but they said that he's still going to be there for, mentorship or if they need some extra help and support. Yeah, it's sad in a way that we're getting like there's two big heavy hitters gone in the space of like the same same year basically, Kaz and Reggie. But I haven't got a lot of like hilarious stories about him. So I haven't really like he's not. I'd say I have as much admiration for him as I did Reggie, but I think Reggie was much more sort of front facing and in his work.
Yeah.
Okay. Next story is that so Microsoft's have removed references to Notch from Minecraft. So this happened with the latest update from the 27th of March, and so because like they have the splash screen when you start Minecraft and it comes up with those messages and stuff,
little funny messages. Yeah.
Apparently, there's 384 of those, and like a load of these. Well, not a load. It's only it's 3 messages have been removed, and 2 of them referred to him specifically, and 1 to his wedding day, and they're all gone now. Although he's still mentioned in the credits, so he's kind of still there. But I mean, I'd imagine this is probably because Microsoft don't want especially kids searching his name and then seeing like the stuff that he's been involved with. Probably
entirely fair enough. Like I've seen some reports that it's like, oh, they had problems with him always tweeting about conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I mean, also the fact that like he's gone a bit right wing and a bit mental. I mean, I say a bit mental. Haha. I do actually think he's got problems, which is not anything to laugh about, but like because he always seemed, like back in the day, like he always seemed like a nice guy. He would occasionally say something and people would be like, dude, that's a bit out of order, and it would be like, yeah, but he's just one guy, and to just go from being a relative nobody to suddenly having all this exposure, like any of us would say the odd stupid thing probably, and then he just fully just went fully into it, and I mean famously he go fully into the conspiracy that like Hillary Clinton was running a paedophile ring out of a pizza place.
Pizzagate.
Didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
He like fully believes that. And he just tweets loads of like really horrible, mean shit all the time. So
is he like all into like the alt-right stuff and everything, or is it?
I don't think he's ever like been that obvious about it. But yeah, basically.
Okay.
But he said lots of things which
clearly chime
can't
with.
Say his days, and it's just I don't know, not nice to say.
A lot of like sort of unfortunate things, that are like okay.
So I mean, obviously, I imagine for legal reasons they can't take him out of the credits. But do I blame them for removing him from those little splash screen messages? Absolutely not.
No, definitely not. No, I'm surprised it's almost taking this long. Really, like every time you hear anything about him, it's always something like, oh, he said what this time?
And I think I've seen like
about children googling him, looking at
And it's like I know there's been like a few of the write-ups about this have pointed to the fact that they're like it's been quite a running joke for a couple of years that people are like, oh, isn't it weird that Minecraft just came out and no one in particular made it? Like, but whatever. Fuck him. He's awful. Unfortunately, don't blame Microsoft at all.
Okay. Next story is we've got another mini coming. And so this time it's the Mega Drive / Genesis, wherever you are, mini. And this is coming in September with 40 preloaded games. And you see, what's interesting about this is because it always seems like there's a Mega Drive Mini coming out, like all the time.
I was going to say this isn't the first one, is it?
No.
They've just given the license to other people before,
and that's why it's never been good. Because obviously, I think that they made these before, like before NES Mini and SNES Mini and PlayStation Classic. But you're right. It's just like yeah, and you've heard of us for years. Oh yeah, you can make 100 Mega Drive games in this mini version, and I'm like, well, everyone just basically said no. And then now these mini and classic systems are picking up in terms of an audience and popularity. Suddenly now Sega have grabbed control and they're doing their own one, hoping that they can get the sort of sales numbers, I guess, that Nintendo certainly got from theirs.
But I think the hope is that this is going to be better because it is like more handled with by them. I mean, all the ports are being done by M2 as well, and that's a really good thing because they've done really good ones in the past. Only 10 games have been revealed so far. We got Echo, Castlevania Bloodlines, which is a surprise because that's a good game. Space Harrier 2, Shining Force, Dr. Robotnik, Tojo and Earl, Comic Zone, Sonic the Hedgehog, Altered Beast, and Gunstar Heroes. But then nothing else so far. But so there's another 30 to go. So what will be? I mean, apparently it's going to be £70 in the UK. But it'll be interesting to see. If this is going to have Sonic 3 as well, because that's always the game that gets like left out of these collections all the time, and like Sonic
because
and Knuckles.
Of the multi-cart business just not working.
And I think
that's Sonic and Knuckles, isn't it?
Yeah, but but you can still, they link in together, don't they? And but there's that whole thing about the music licensing, which I don't know if that's erroneous or not. Somebody will probably tell us.
The Michael Jackson stuff.
Yeah, although, I mean, he apparently didn't have anything to do with it, but it's like there are licensing issues or something with the music. But
Okay.
I mean, as a massive Sega fan, I'm assuming, Matt, you've pre-ordered this.
No. But I will say, like, the Japanese one's got a 6-button layout, and I know that's not like authentic to what happened when the Mega Drive came out, but it just looks so much better.
Yeah.
No, I have not pre-ordered. I haven't got money for that sort of thing. It does look nice. I'm excited to see what the other 30 are. Hopefully, like Rise Star and Strider and other stuff comes out on it.
See,
yeah, I mean, the whole mini console thing, I don't get it. I don't think it's a good answer to, like video games sort of general heritage problem. But it's interesting that, like, obviously Nintendo have got something right that either, the previous Mega Drive ones we talked about did, or even the PlayStation Classic, because no one bought that for some reason. Mm-hmm. And as someone who's not really into them, I don't really know what the difference is, but it's interesting that they're obviously like people just get a whiff of it. That like the Nintendo ones are done well and the others aren't so much.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, yeah, because the PlayStation one was awful, wasn't it, apparently, like when it came out. And we obviously didn't bother with it. I mean, you see, in terms of preservation, this is why I felt I prefer like the Virtual Console approach, really. I'd rather just have all these games playable on like Switch or PlayStation or whatever, so that they still exist and you can play them in that way. I don't really want to have to connect up hardware to do it, to be honest, because in general, I'd rather play it on those. I know there's the nostalgia side to this, but the controllers now are much nicer as well to use, and I don't know. I'd much rather actually. Would I? Yeah, and I still would rather use a Switch controller than a Mega Drive one, because those edges on those D-pads were brutal. They were incredibly sharp and not so good.
But I mean, like I said, like all these classic consoles, I think they look cool, but I've never bought any. And even when like the PlayStation Classic, it obviously launched for like 80 quid or whatever, 90. Yeah. And over Christmas, it was like, it's 40. And I'm like, no. I mean, even if it's like a tenner, I just wouldn't. It's no point, because it would just, I won't play it. I'll unwrap it, it'll look cool, and then it'll never get used again. But if I need to get this to get a mini Saturn or mini Dreamcast, then chances are higher. But still, I don't think I'm going to get it, because I just know I'm not going to play it.
Well, that's the thing, because I mean, like a miniature Saturn or whatever would be more interesting, because those games don't exist so much now, do they? Like they've not. They don't,
and they're hard to emulate as well.
Imagine me Saturn with Panzer Dragoon Saga, unbelievable, or like Shining Force, like parts 1, 2, and 3, which isn't going to happen, but. Yeah, or like Burning Rangers, and amazing. But I mean, it's cool they're releasing it, but I'm hardly like desperate to go out and get one.
Yeah. Okay, next one is that Valve have just revealed their own VR headset, and this is apparently called the Valve Index, and it's not being made in partnership with HTC, which is a surprise, because that's who they've done everything with so far, isn't it? HTC.
Yeah.
So from the pictures, it looks like it's got these wide-angle cameras, so that you can move around without having to place like base stations around. You don't need like external tracking cameras for it. And
inside-out tracking,
yeah, and it's also got this slider so that you can like change the distance between your eyes, so that it's like more accurate for that. Because that doesn't happen on any of them, does it? Apart from only in software, from what I can understand. Is that right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
I don't believe so. I mean, but the software side of that is IPD, like interpupillary distance. Is the thing. Like, it's so bad on PSVR, because you can't just say I'm 60.5. You have to like do the setup, and it like changes. And I wish that was more. I wish that was manual on PSVR, where you can know the distance. But because then you can like keep like experimenting and changing the number to get better, make it sharper for you. But no, it's interesting that it's. There's a physical button beneath the head, or above or below the headset. It's not clear from this picture, but also, if it was software, at least you'll know it isn't going to move or get hit accidentally, or
yeah.
So that's a bit like, oh, what if I accidentally like hit that as I'm putting it on or taking it off, or it's on the side. But yeah, I mean, the fact they're not using HTC is interesting. I hate the name. I think the name is terrible. Index it's just like the most bog standard name. I'm not a fan. That does not inspire.
Doesn't relate to VR. Isn't it? Index. How does that? I mean, to me, Index is a quality shop.
Oh yeah, it used to be, doesn't
exist anymore.
Yeah. So I just think library. I think library indexes.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I suppose the most interesting thing to take from this is that it shows how Valve feel VR is going. Like, I know, like a lot of the conversations we tend to have is that like, it's like it's been it's had like a bit of a resurgence and it's gone pretty well, but the tech's not there. Maybe see it in 10 years. And yet clearly Valve are happy to like do their own iteration on it now, which suggests that actually they're doing just fine from VR stuff on Steam. But then, of course, they're not putting any of the money in, are they? They're just selling other people's games. But it must be significant enough that they feel that they need to make their own headset, I guess.
Yeah, to get into the game now after having experimented with Vive. But maybe they think, well, hang on, Vive's making loads of cash. We'll just make one bigger and better and we'll get the cash. But I don't know. It's hard to say.
I mean, they're also working on their own like motion controllers as well, like those, like ones where you can like pick stuff up and all that kind of thing, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. But the only thing with the Index is we're also not clear whether this is standalone or whether it needs to be like tethered to a PC or whatever. Because like, the whole thing with the recent Oculus stuff has been like, it's like low cost. You don't need PC.
Yeah, the
or
Oculus
kind of
Go and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard loads of reports from GDC. Like, people are like really, really impressed with Oculus Quest, which is the standalone Oculus. Yeah, like to the point where there's like it's obviously not tethered, but also there's no like base station. So people are like, how is this being tracked? And it's it's all built in the headset, and people have been really, really impressed, really. So. I can't wait to see. Will they have some software available for this? Is the exciting thing.
Mm-hmm. That's the point. Actually, they're going to put exclusive stuff on it.
I mean, you would imagine they will have their own software to sell this thing. They're not just like, it's a VR headset. It plays all the VR games you already know and love. Well, that's cool, of course. And but then, how is this different? And if it's going to be different, software is a great way to do that. Live free. So
I mean, maybe they're seeing this as a way to sort of differentiate themselves from like the Epic Games Store and everything. It's like this is like with the Steam library.
Yeah,
and stuff.
true. Yeah.
All it takes for them to say, there's an exclusive Half-Life 2 in VR demo or some sort of like there's a new Portal experience. It's like okay, they'll sell lots of them. Yeah, but we're going to hear it more in May. So
okay.
Well, okay. Sorry, May is the target release date, so maybe before that. But interesting to see what they do, see how they make it different.
Okay. Next story is that Drive Club is shutting down in 2020. So if you've got it, you've got a year left to play the game. They're going to shut down the servers for Drive Club VR, and Drive Club Bikes, and that's going to be on the 31st of March. But they're also delisting
so it's actually getting delisted. Yeah.
It's being delisted from this year, like from the 31st of August, including all the DLC. But the single player modes will still be available. But I mean that's kind of it done. I mean the launch didn't go well, did it? I mean this was
no, it didn't. Yeah. It was one of those weird games where if you bought it at launch, you would probably be furious. But if like me, you waited 6 months and then picked it up for about 15 quid after everything had got fixed and they added loads of free content. It's fucking great. Like, so it's a really good driving game. It's just, so because it took years to come out, right? Was it supposed to be a PS4 launch title? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then that absolutely didn't happen. And then when it did launch, it was just missing all sorts of features. But as I say, it did get there in the end. It's just a shame that it took so long getting there, I suppose.
Matt, was Drive Club VR the one that we played at your house when you first had PSVR? Yes. Yeah, I mean that game. I mean that was one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had in VR. Was using that, like going around corners.
It made one of you really sick, didn't it?
Yeah, it was me. After like the first half a lap, I was like, oh god, let's go around the corner where like your body expects to feel some sort of G-force or some sort of movement, and oh god, that really messed me up. And like now I can play it, and it's like there's no bother at all, but.
That was the weird thing, wasn't it? It was like going around corners because your body's expecting to feel like the gravity and everything, but then it doesn't happen, and you just feel odd. Yeah,
I mean it's interesting. All this talk about games mysteriously shutting down or getting deleted or whatever. So I guess this is due to the fact that obviously the studio was shut down 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Shit, and then I believe. So I think a few people left, and then the rest got taken on by Codemasters to carry on making racing games, which is great. But it makes you wonder, like, well, who agreed to keep paying for the servers, and who's taking the revenue from any copies sold now? Not that I imagine there are a lot still getting sold, but even so, that's an arrangement that has to be made. So I guess, if whatever arrangements were in place have an expiry date on them, which it seems they do, then that's it. The game gets pulled.
Yeah,
it's shite.
It's a shame. Okay, the last story I've got is Borderlands 3. So there was a trailer for this. So there's no official release date. It's probably coming before autumn 2019.
Yeah, a lot of people are suggesting September 13th today after some leaks and some DLC things.
Yeah, so there's just a trailer. There's more details coming on Thursday. I don't know why Matt wanted to include this. There's no information about this at all apart from a trailer. And
did you watch the trailer?
No, of course I didn't. I don't care about Borderlands. I mean, I don't. I mean, okay, Sean, are you into Borderlands?
Well, here's the thing, right? Yes, is the answer. Really enjoyed Borderlands 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But you cannot ignore the fact that everything that Gearbox have done since Borderlands 2 has been shite.
I know, so see, I just think of medieval times as well and all that kind of thing. It's I think Randy Pitchford, you think all of that, it's so I really enjoyed Borderlands 2 at the time. It's a bit of a weird one to go back to, just quality of life things that we now miss, stuff like that. But it was great when it came out. But then you had Duke Nukem, you had Aliens Colonial Marines, you had Battleborn, and it's a bit have all the talented people left, or the people that remain that are talented are just not getting to do it? I don't know. And I mean, I've not watched the trailer. Gary, it's very memey. Really?
Is that right, Matt?
I don't know. I mean, it's like a 3 or 4 minute video, so it's quite a lot. And it basically ends in saying that there's a billion guns. There's the guy who's in the Tales from the Borderlands.
Oh yeah.
But what I was bringing up, one, it's a big bit of news from the week, but also I just thought this. I mean, they haven't revealed what sort of game it is at all in terms of. Is it how we remember Borderlands, or is it games as a service? And I think they're going to just go for another Borderlands game. And
do you reckon? Just so people will see it as a refreshing answer.
That would make more sense, wouldn't it? Because there's too many games as a service games at the moment. And they didn't they do? Was it Battleborn? They did.
Yeah.
Really I just mentioned that. Yeah,
it's dreadful. Yeah,
and that was a games as a service thing, wasn't it? And that
it was. It's like a Overwatch type thing, wasn't it?
It was. It did have sort of co-op elements as well, like story missions and stuff. So yeah.
But yeah, I think it would make total sense for them just to stick with the game as it was. I mean, obviously a multiplayer, but for them to pivot to potentially games as a service, and arguably this game must feel like one of the obvious ones to pivot to that style of game. I feel like you've got to have so much money and be willing to invest time and resource and effort for years to get his games of service games working how you need them to get to, or at least quality wise, and make sure we've got an engaged audience and fan base and players and whatnot, and be really receptive to changes. I don't think they're going to do that. And also, if the biggest people at EA are making huge mistakes with these things, I think these guys are let's just stick with the game as it was, give the fans what they want. And if we pick up new fans, that's great. And I think that'd be definitely the right decision. Because I think we're getting it's a bit overkill. Because obviously Destiny's out there, Division 2's out there, Anthem. There's probably other games I've forgotten about. If you're a fan of these types of games, you can only really surely play one of them. Because if you play Destiny, there's stuff every single day for you to do. If you play Division, the same. But imagine trying to juggle games like Anthem and Destiny and Division.
I don't know. I mean,
wouldn't it be nice if they all got together and were just so Bungie could just be look, we've got some stuff coming out in February, and then some stuff in May. After that, it's pretty dry for about 5 months. So if you want to bring out Borderlands 3, then go for it.
If you want to bring out big content pack,
just work out a schedule, guys. It's not rocket science. I don't know.
But does the idea of so you like the first two? Does the idea of the Borderlands as you know it? And again, nothing's been confirmed. That's just what I'm anticipating. But would another Borderlands in the same style as the first two, but modernized up? But is that something you might be excited to play?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just whether or not, as I say, it's because I know certain personnel have left. So Anthony Birch, who I was a big fan of. Back when he used to write for Destructoid, so he went to work for Gearbox and he wrote I think he wrote most of Borderlands 2, which is why it's actually quite funny. Whereas, he's gone. He left a while ago. I think he went to work for Riot Games, working on League of Legends and stuff. But So I don't know. Like I have a feeling that if it continues trying to be funny in the same vein, it might not work. But then that's being really unfair to whoever's writing it now, and I have no idea who they are, and they could be really good. So who knows?
Yeah, they've also have they released like a game like the first one again, like a Game of the Year edition that comes out. It's probably out by the time you listen to this podcast actually. With like, I think they've refined things, made it 4K HDR, that sort of stuff, and they've given a lot of the updates that the second one had, and they've changed the final boss. Yeah, so they're obviously
interesting.
Leaning into
I mean,
it.
there's also Borderlands the pre-sequel, which I played a bit of and didn't really get on with it, but I think it reviewed well enough. But that was another team that made that.
And then obviously there's Tales from the Borderlands that people seem to really like.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite Telltale game. It's really good.
But yeah, it will be interesting to see where to go. I personally think they'll stick to true and tested Borderlands and not pivot into games as a service. But yeah,
I would prefer that. For sure.
Okay, that's it. That's all the news.
Is that it? That's it.
Yeah,
for the news. Right. It's Matt's favourite bit. What have we been playing? Matt, do you want to go first? Or that's really mean. James, do you...
Well, I just want to say, like, so it's my. I hate this for me, not for you guys talking about the games. It's me. I don't. Yeah. Go on, James.
Okay. Well, you see, this is also a bit of a problem because I've got virtually nothing this week. Because last week we spent most of the time doing streaming and recording podcasts and stuff, and it turns out you can't do that and then also record a load of shows. And
it's been a busy old week, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been. So there really wasn't much time to actually play a huge amount of stuff. Saying that, I have kind of played two things a bit.
Right.
So I got Yoshi's Crafted World, which came out on Friday, but I've only put about 30 minutes into it. So I've got virtually nothing to say about it.
So you've played the demo again, yeah?
Basically, yeah. I mean, I played the demo and got a bit further in. I mean, it looks stunning, like especially on the TV. Yeah. Although there's this weird slowdown from time to time. In the overworld map kind of thing.
Right.
There's often this sort of weird sort of slowdown from time to time. Although it only happens on TV, it doesn't seem to happen in handheld mode. So not sure what that's about. And I mean, it's certainly not difficult, but it's got that same hook of obviously trying to just collect everything. And to be honest, it's nice. I mean, it's been nice to play this at the same time as playing Sekiro, because it's like complete opposite, really. It's like, one is like really, really difficult. This is just very pleasant to play. And for some reason, this actually made me start to play... I went back and I've been playing Loco Roco, which I played a very long time ago, but never actually finished. And then I've been playing that, and because there's a similar kind of vibe, I think, and but it's kind of good. And but yeah, I mean, as I said, I've not really played enough to like give a full sort of appraisal of whether I feel it's good. But I'd say it's one of the nicest looking like 2D like Nintendo games that I've ever seen. It's
Do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just wasn't blown away by the demo. Just I felt really blurry on the Switch, but.
Later on, it really improves, Matt. It's like it's that demo. I don't think did them any favors because I agree. It didn't look that great, but it really starts to look really nice. Especially if you play in handheld mode, it looks really, really, really stunning. But so there's that. That's been pretty good. I mean, my kids have been playing it. I mean, they've played it more than I have, and they've been playing together. So that was nice.
Is there multiplayer in that, or is it just?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can have. I think it's only up to 2 people though. Like you can play sort of like co-op, like going through. Although I think that probably would get a bit irritating if you're not playing with somebody who's kind of on the same page as you, because it's like solving puzzles and stuff. But I mean, it's obviously nothing like Celeste or Super Mario Brothers U or anything like that. This is really just a kind of like an exploration, like sort of interesting puzzly kind of thing. It's good.
But are there different difficulty levels so you can make it very tricky, or is it not that sort of game?
There are 2. I mean, there's mellow mode, which makes it even easier, or regular mode. And I saw on Reddit, I think somebody had posted up this video of showing you can play and finish mellow mode by just putting some rocks on your controller, and it will just Yoshi will just float through the stages and get to the end, and it's just really easy. But I mean, mellow mode is supposed to be for kids or whatever, and it's makes it much simpler, so but it's good. I mean,
the very later stuff in Yoshi's Woolly World was pretty fierce.
Yeah.
So
That's
could end up that way.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's probably going to get more difficult as it goes on. But then also part of the fun is always, trying to get everything. And then usually there are things which make it very difficult to do that, which is where the sort of the fun begins. But I'll play it while I'm away. I'm looking forward to that. And I've played some more of Sekiro, but hardly any. I mean, I've beaten the bosses that I was trying to get past, and I'm now stuck on another one. So yeah, that will happen.
How many sort of main bosses have you gone through so far?
Let me think. I've done one of the main main bosses, but then I've done about 3 or 4 sort of mini ones. Because there's some of them, when you hear people talking about it, and they're like, oh, I just beat the boss that was like the ogre or whatever, at the beginning. And it's like, that's not a boss. That's just like a mini one.
That's a mini boss, yeah.
That's just a mini boss. Yeah. So, yeah, the big ones, I've done one of them, which was the guy on the horse, which, you saw me do. And that was really weird because I went back to trying it and did it first time. After I did that stream, I went back and then I did some other sort of side mission stuff, and then I came back and I just did it first time, and it was not that difficult for some reason. I think probably because my character had maybe upgraded a bit and maybe my skills were a bit better. But I'm now stuck on another one, which is kind of irritating. But obviously I can't say because people get annoyed if you reveal names of anything at all. But it's good. It's still enjoyable, and I really wish I could take it with me. I mean, it's irritating that it's now going to be 2 weeks or whatever until I can play it again. And and I mean, I didn't play it much last week because of the fact we were doing so many shows, and it's for me, it's really one of those games where you have to sit down for quite a long period of time to get into it. You can't just dip in for 20 minutes or whatever. It's you have to dedicate a fair amount of time to it. So
James, you can play using the PlayStation app on your phone using the on-screen controls.
I could, I was thinking maybe I could do that from China. I don't think the firewall...
Zero latency.
There may be latency issues. That's quite likely. Yeah, it's
but is it good enough though? Is it good enough to play?
I don't know. Maybe I'll find out. Maybe I'll leave my PS4 on rest mode and then just try it while I'm gone.
Yeah, I want to see how bad it is.
But yeah, I'd imagine it will be unplayable. It won't work so well. So yeah, that's not so good. So yeah, that's a shame. The other thing that I've been playing, which I'm edging towards the end of now, is Wargroove. I mean, this was the Advance Wars style. Switch game that came out a little while ago.
We all know what Wargroove is. It was hyped for 2 years before it came out.
You haven't got a memory of a goldfish.
It was hyped, and then when it came out, people were quite positive about it, including myself. But then the more I played it, the less positive I've become about it, and which seems to sort of correlate with a lot of what other people are thinking about it as well, because I've kind of begun to dislike it.
Okay.
Mostly because of all the problems that have already been highlighted by others, which is, I mean, one of the big problems with it is, do you remember with playing with Advance Wars, whenever you started a new mission, it always felt like, even if you were learning a new mechanic or something like that, you felt like you could probably win this. It was you just need to figure out the strategy and you could do it. With this, it really does feel like the levels are stacked from the start with only one real viable strategy to get through them, which then means that it's a case of kind of expecting that you're going to fail and then you're going to have to retry it so that you can figure out the right way to sort of get through it. It becomes, and for me, that then becomes more of a puzzle game than a strategy game, because you're basically just trying to figure out, what the developer wants you to do to get through it. And although that's fine because they've added checkpoints now so you can go back and you can try again, it still feels kind of irritating, and it doesn't feel like you can still have the experience where you're playing for 45 minutes or so and then you fail and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go through that again. And because of the fact, because of this. And it just doesn't feel as well balanced as Advance Wars at all. With that, especially with the first Advance Wars, on the Game Boy Advance, they did that really they did a really good job of introducing stuff kind of slowly and then building up what you could use, and you got very comfortable with using certain sort of units as you went through. But then also the initial units didn't become useless either. They still had vital functions even later on. This doesn't feel so much like that. I mean, there's a lot of units that you can use. I mean, somebody is almost certainly going to tell me it's the same number, but it feels like there's a lot. As in, where it doesn't feel... I don't feel excited to play new maps at all, because I don't feel that it's very well balanced at all. Mostly because I know that my first attempt at any map is going to be just like another learning experience, and that is kind of irritating. But also, it doesn't have the charm of Advance Wars either at all, or the music. Crucially, like the music in it is kind of terrible. But it's it's still fine as a strategy game, I guess. But it's just not. It really isn't like what I was hoping it was going to be. So that's kind of my problem.
Shame.
But I know I'm soldiering on towards the end of it anyway. I'm going to see if there's any, because there's tons of like downloadable stuff for it now. Like people have made maps and stuff like that. So maybe that will, maybe there'll be some more interesting ones than the campaign. Maybe it's just the campaign's not very interesting. That's maybe the case.
That's a shame because most people I know who've played it, like the most positive. Like, they were all like generally positive, but even they were like, before it came out, oh, hey, brilliant, someone's making Advance Wars again. And then it came out and they're like, it's just Advance Wars.
Yeah.
Like, what was it entirely necessary if it's not really going to do anything too drastic with the formula? Especially since, the genre.
It's like not really as good as either, which is like the problem.
And like when obviously the genre has done a lot since the last Advance Wars game. So, yeah. Shame.
Yeah, I was going to ask if the original creators came out and said we've got a new Advance Wars, would you be psyched again, or
absolutely.
Do you think you got your fill of this sort of style of game for now, or what?
No, I'd be all over another Advance Wars. It's intelligent systems, isn't it? Like we're making it. Yeah. But because Nintendo really now have like put all their eggs in the the Fire Emblem basket in terms of like strategy. That that kind of thing goes, so I don't think it's likely to ever appear again, which is a shame.
And
I'll say never say never. I mean, it's a well loved franchise. They're gonna bring it back. I can't see it's not Fire Emblem forever. It's just going for a bit of a renaissance because of the mobile game. I guess it's got new viewer, new audience members.
Yeah. I guess so. Is that it, James?
That's it. That's all I've got.
Fair dues. Matt, do you want to do yours?
Yeah, again, obviously, we were all busy last week, so I played more Bloodborne, still absolutely loving it. I killed Shadow of Yarnum on the weekend, and now I'm up against Rom, the Massive Spider, enjoying that. And I've been sort of doing our Chalice Dungeons in the week. We had like an email about it a couple of weeks ago, and I've really enjoyed them. Did you play many of them, Sean?
I did a few, yeah. But I don't know, why did I fall off them? I can't remember. I think it was just like putting that effort in for something that doesn't, it does sort of feed into the main game because obviously you're getting your blood vials, you're getting, experience and stuff. And I think there are some items and stuff you can only get through the dungeons.
There's like weapons and armor section you can either buy from doing certain levels, because there's like a few levels of each challenge dungeon. You can buy them or earn them. There's also other blood gems there which you can use to add to your like weapon to give it different buffs and stuff. So I've done the first one last week and it was really good.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think I'd sort of incorrectly convinced myself that it wasn't really feeding into the main game, and I was like, well, why am I bothering? Sort of. Well, actually, there's loads of good reasons to do them. I just wasn't aware of them at the time, I think. Yeah,
I think someone suggests I do them because I can go and farm and get vials, and then I did it, but I really struggled on the first boss, which is like this it's basically a giant dog on fire. And, and I was like, hang on, I've ended up with just like +5 I had before because I got loads and then I spent loads trying to kill that boss, and but so I'm just farming around the Forbidden Wood instead because I get way more. But I'm doing that now because like I've done with Dark Souls and now with Bloodborne, I love these games, but it sucks only being able to play them once a week. So now I am playing Bloodborne the week. I'm just like farming and leveling up and doing some other cool stuff. And I played a bit more Sekiro. I've got now into like the proper game. Like last time I was still in the prologue. So I've done like a mini boss. I've I've done like the first initial few cutscenes and stuff. Yeah, I absolutely love the combat. It's so good. It feels so much more complex than Dark Souls or Bloodborne. I'm sure someone will be listening to this saying, no, Matt, you don't understand Bloodborne, Dark Souls do this. But for me, it does seem way more complex in a good way. I mean, even like small battles with mini bosses feel like they can go loads of different ways, especially when you talk to like the trainer guy and he's like, well, if the enemy does a sweep, you jump over it and you can attack, or you can, if he does a lunge, you jump backwards or you sidestep. It feels like there's lots of different things to think about during a battle, and it's not about rushing in. It's about reading the enemy. I will say that the enemy attacks are sometimes so quick that my default now is just to jump rather than
that's the thing,
rather
isn't it?
than
Because
judge left or right or up and down. I just jump up, and then that usually helps me.
Because he does. Because he explains how there's different symbols for jumping or for pulling back or rolling to the side or whatever.
And so obviously, like, when an enemy does an attack that's undefendable, you can't defend against it. I think there's an actual proper word for that. But when he does that, a red symbol appears. Yeah. But I didn't know those are different depending on what sort of attack they do. Is that true?
I think they are different. I can't remember. But
I just thought it was like the red sort of, the red icon. I was like, okay, well, I don't know which one it is, and the enemy's done it so quick, I can't anticipate whether that's a lunge or this, so I just jump up.
I'm pretty certain it does, because then that's supposed to give you the idea of what you're supposed to do, but again, probably wrong. But then also, like you said, in the heat of combat, it's kind of, I don't know, maybe again this is going to be a case of the better you get at it, the sort of the easier it would be to be able to do that, because at the moment, I often end up just jumping or just rolling out the way every time, because it's just there's not time to think about it really.
Yeah, but the guy you can go and do training with, I absolutely love him. He's brilliant. He can be killed all the time, and his little story about, well, I'm going to keep getting killed, but now you've given me some reason to live because I'm helping you train and stuff. I think he's a cool little character. I've met Emma. I've got some other little abilities, and I'm excited to play it. It's a good old game. It feels way more complex than the others, but I'm enjoying it for what it is. But apparently, it's going to be tough for me to switch between Sekiro and Bloodborne because the styles of the game are quite different. But either way, I'm enjoying them both for now.
Cool,
and that's me.
Wicked. Right. What did I do? I finished the Red Strings Club.
Excellent.
What do you think? I'm so fucking glad I did. So obviously I talked about it last week, and I was positive. And sometimes you play a fair bit of a game, and you're like, yeah, this is good. I like this. But then by the end, you just love it way more than you thought you were going to. That game gets so fucking interesting. Obviously spending most of the time in the bar and mixing drinks with people. I mean, that gets more involved in and of itself, and you start having conversations where it really matters what mood you put people in based off what drink you serve them. Plus the mechanics around making the drinks in the first place gets a bit more complicated. I was still pissing vodka all over the floor and stuff just because I'm incompetent, but some of the conversations you start having are really fascinating, and any good sci-fi or fantasy or whatever is to me it's when you take ridiculous technologies or ideas or whatever, but then you have to apply real people and real people's thoughts and feelings and values and whatever to them, and it just does that so well. I keep stalling because I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, that's the trouble. There's so many great sequences. The last sequence or last prolonged sequence is brilliant, but I won't even say what you do, where you are. But that was really interesting because I don't think I've done anything quite like that before in a game.
No, because obviously there are games where you hack things, and I don't just mean Pipe Mania and Bioshock and stuff. There's Uplink and stuff, which is a really involved. You basically the game is just an operating system, and you're just going through files and coding things and stuff like that. Whereas this is there's a whole sequence toward the end, which without spoiling anything, is you are being a hacker, but it's more you're being a detective, and it's you're spotting clues, figuring things out, finding bits of information that can get you into certain systems, which then you find other things out, but then you also have this thing where you can impersonate other people's voices on the phone, so you can phone people up and be other people, and it's just fucking fascinating. When you finally you get a voice imprint of one person, right, fuck, now I can phone her from legal and then pretend to be this person, and then she'll tell me this, but it just creates this brilliant web of information, and you just properly feel like a fucking detective. More so than I've felt in a point and click game for a long time.
And even in those very, very small conversations, all the characters are just brilliant. I think it's just a really excellently written game.
Yeah. Really beautifully written, and especially because I think it's like one guy who pretty much made all of it. If the credits are correct, and yeah, like he's really brilliant ability to write in so many different voices, and especially like so when you're in the bar serving drinks, like even though you're changing someone's personality, it's still within like certain parameters. Like you get a sense of what each drink is going to do to a character before you serve it, and I think that's a credit to the writing. And yeah, like a little choice at the end, which unclear. Like you don't find out if it will ever change anything, but it's just like a really nice character moment, I think. Yeah, what a fucking beautiful game.
See,
relatively short and just great. Yeah,
it is a shame that we can't talk about it. Like we should do like a series of spoiler casts or something for just like games in general.
I did wonder this because. Like, I did get to the end, and this is very rare for me. I got to the end, and I was like, I might play this through again, because I definitely made decisions that could have gone very differently.
I definitely restarted the game immediately when it ended. Yeah, I just wanted to, like, play the first 50 minutes again, just to see I know things. And
so, yeah, I'm tempted. And it'd be really cool to just explore, like, choices we all made and stuff.
But also to just talk in more depth about the ideas, and because you can't really do that without ruining the game, which is which is what is a shame.
Yeah. So yeah, what a good fucking game.
Yeah, he does some clever stuff. Like, especially really with all that hypocrisy thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That was that was really smart. What else have I played? I've played Gems of War.
This sounds like a mobile game, Sean.
This sounds like James's favourite.
Yeah. Don't laugh. Okay, it is a mobile game. Sit down. Don't leave. Just bear with me. So this has just come out on Switch, and as is often the way, it's just come out on Switch. I thought it was a new game. It's not. It's been on mobile for a while, I think. But it's by the people who, some of the people who originally made Puzzle Quest.
Oh, okay.
Which I never got into, but yeah, it's got enough fans. If you've never played it, it's a sort of match 3 puzzle game stroke RPG, basically. And this is that again, but with a sort. I want to say it's like a card battler game. Oh. Kind of is. No, it's all right. So you have loads of like different characters at your disposal, but in any one like match, you only have like 4 of them at one point. So you basically so you build like your teams, but they only consist of like 4 cards plus a weapon for your hero, and that's fine. Like it's got some of the depth of something like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering or whatever, but it's intentionally scaled back so that every match is just like literally some of them are can be like under a minute if you play cards right, and like so the way it works is. So you don't summon anything. Like everything that's in your team is just there, like on the field from the start of each match. And yeah, you're doing your match 3. You're matching up gems, and they're all different colors. So each of your cards that you've got will have like a mana cost to activate its ability. So basically, you're trying to match the gems to get the right colors, cash them in, use a card's ability, and destroy the enemies and win the game. But it's obviously all those abilities are like a little bit weird. One might change all the gems, all gems of one color to a certain other color, and then you might have another card that eats all the gems of that color to improve its attack damage or whatever. So there's like little bits of synergy like that that work really well. And I've just found it really fucking addictive. Like all the games are really short, quite exciting, not massive. I'm not like, some games of Hearthstone, you can just be sitting there like, oh, fuck's sake, what do I do now? Whereas this is just like lightning quick. And that really appeals to me. It looks like there's fucking loads to it. Like I'm still in there's like a whole world map with all different locations and stuff. I'm still just plowing through the campaign missions. There's PvP stuff, but I don't think it's actually player versus player. I think it's player versus someone, like another player's deck controlled by an AI. I think it's totally asynchronous.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's weird. But again, I think I'm all right with it because it means especially having it on the Switch, I don't think you need like a stable internet connection while you're playing it. I think. I suppose you would to get the players' decks in the first place. I have no idea. But there's like the campaign seems to be really long. There's like this first location I'm in the map. There's like 50 campaign missions to get through, which again are just these like relatively quick fights, and there's like bits of story between them which you can skip. But it's just, it's one of these where I put like an entire evening into it, and then I reached a certain level, and it's like, do you want to buy the starter pack for £4.50 and get a really good card? And I said, yes, please.
Is that on the Switch as well?
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just having a look at the. Yeah, I mean, it's got some interesting character art. Like just googling it, I mean, you got
some
tits
James in it.
There's a lion here with boobs, which is
that's the thing. I mean, Matt, you played the bloody Fire Emblem one on your phone, so you can't say shit.
But I wasn't going to say shit. This looks I'm not one to complain about mobile games on this pod.
Cats got like massive like breasts. This is
no, which is not even how they would be if they'd have like 6 of them, wouldn't they, in a row? Whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's people who are into that as well.
So do you think this benefits anything from playing on your Switch versus your phone?
I mean, if I'd known it was on my phone, I probably would have gone for that instead, just because it's on me more of the time.
Yeah. And are you happy with your starter pack?
Yeah, it's great. I've got a load of free. Well, not free. See, this is how they get you. Oh, I got a load of free shit. No, I didn't. I bought stuff. Paid money for it. It felt like a gift.
Is the base game free to download then?
It is, yeah. Yeah, game's free. So by all means, have a go.
Yeah, and I know that if I played a free-to-play game and it's like, oh, do you want to pay £5? And I'm like, you know what? I feel like you deserve it because I've had like an evening's entertainment at least.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like I've already had £4.50's worth of enjoyment out of it, so fine.
I was more than happy to spend 20 quid on Fire Emblem. The amount of hours I put into that.
That's insane. Yeah. That's not even a good game.
But if I put like 20 or 30 or plus hours into it, I don't mind giving them 20 quid.
You could have bought like Awakenings or something, like a good game for that.
Well, no, I don't have a 3DS. It would have cost way more money.
Yeah, you need to buy a 3DS as well, so I get it. Gems of War. It's all right. Shit name, obviously, but you know.
Speaking of mobile games, has anyone been playing Blades this week? Because that's out now.
Do you know? I downloaded. Access. Yeah, so I got the notification. Like,
I've downloaded it, but I just okay, wait.
But see, I downloaded it, and then it was like, oh, you can't actually play at the moment because we're like limiting the play windows. It's like a timed thing, and then it said it would send me a notification when I was able to get in, and it just hasn't. So,
okay, cool.
I've heard people saying good things though.
Yeah, I've got it and I've downloaded it. I haven't started playing it, so maybe I can't play it. But the fact that you can play it in vertical as well as landscape is interesting. Yeah. I've heard some people saying actually it's surprisingly good. Maybe because the expectations were ridiculously low. But yeah. So are you interested in that at all, James, or not? Because it's mobile.
Not really. Is it free to play?
I think so. Yeah.
If it's free,
it's free to download. I don't know what sort of in-app transactions it's got. Given it's like a Morrowind and Oblivion style game, but
yeah. If I mean, generally, if a game is free to play with microtransactions, I'm just not interested. It's just I just don't care.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's fine. Last one. I have been playing Earth Defense Force Iron Rain. So this isn't out for a couple of weeks yet. But it's an interesting one for me. I think I've already gone through some of this in like when I was talking about Earth Defense Force 5 and it came out a couple of months ago. It's weird and kind of stupid that they've released Earth Defense Force 5 and then this within like 2 months of each other. For those who aren't aware, the Earth Defense Force series is this sort of niche, but I think very good, albeit a little bit ropey and low budget series of games where, it's sort of based on like sort of Japanese B movies. So you're like a soldier with an assault rifle and a rocket launcher, and there are giant ants everywhere and flying saucers and tall robots. And it's third person shooter, basically. You run around blasting the hell out of everything, and it's loads of good fun. And like the games have like quite a knowing sense of humor. Like the dialogue's just really stupid. All the voice actors are really obviously like just having fun with it. And there's a weirdly specific tone. You just get this sense that everyone involved has fucking enjoyed, making the game. They're just like, it's one of those games where you want to say, oh yeah, it's just like really like, stupid, but good
like
fun.
campy B-movie style.
Yeah, but which actually is not stupid. It's quite difficult to get that right and to make that enjoyable. Like, you know, because like a cheap, badly made game is not necessarily enjoyable in the same way as a cheap, badly made film, because like you've got to play the thing, you've got to be an active participant.
Yeah, still going to be interesting and fun to play, regardless of how cheap it is.
Yeah. So Iron Rain is a weird one in that it's been handed off to a different developer. I believe the guy, like one of the producers from like the main series, was still involved. But this has gone over to Ukes, who make all the wrestling games. Which again, a bit of a weird fit. And they've sort of pitched this as like, this is the one that's going to crack the West. Like the games haven't really travelled that well in the past. So yeah, so we had EDF 5, which came out a few months ago, and that was like, you know, the mainline series. And this is like this slightly weird offshoot, which they're pinning all these hopes on that like, actually this is going to get loads of people involved.
This could be like Monster Hunter World, isn't it?
It is a little bit like Monster Hunter World, but I don't think it's going to have the same sort of success. Because, like, you know, as a fan of the series, like, you're playing it, and it's like, this is clearly, like, more polished.
Really?
Just feels and look... Well, exactly, right? Feels and looks a little bit better to play than the series has in general. But it's still nowhere close to, like, what most people are used to. Like, it's still... like, it doesn't come across as, like... It's still not, like, a big budget game. It still looks kind of ropey. Which means it sits in this weird place where it's like, well, how knowing is it that it's not that great? Like, because the mainline series is so aware of what it's trying to do, whereas because this is trying to come across as, like, more big budget and failing... There's a weird feeling to it, and it doesn't quite have like the same sense of humor and stuff. However, after spending some time with it, I think it is undeniably a better game. Like, there's changes that like fans of the series won't really appreciate. So in previous EDF games, like all your weapon unlocks were like pretty much completely random, which meant that like it was quite fun. Like, at the end of every mission, you're like, oh, I wonder what I unlocked. Sometimes it'd be like a load of shit, and occasionally you'd get something absolutely brilliant. In this, it's just set unlocks after every level. So once you've completed mission 3, you get like these 2 guns. There you go, well done. You then have to like buy them with like, you know, currency that you pick up in missions and stuff. So there's like, you have to manage it a little bit, but basically the weapons you get are predetermined, which takes some of the fun out of it.
Yeah.
But also, like, broadly speaking, like, you still, like, when you finish a mission, you still think, like, oh, shit, what am I going to unlock next? It's just that it's much less likely that there's going to be any, like, big surprises. It's like, oh, you got a slightly better assault rifle or whatever, you know. Like, there are some, like, sort of weird and wonderful weapons in there, but they're mostly pretty, I don't know, pretty samey. The classes are weird. In a normal Defense Force game, you have like these 4 classes, and they're all like completely divorced. So like, you know, there's the Ranger, which is like your default soldier guy who has like a whole set of weapons he can use, and then there's like the Wing Diver, who's this like woman who can fly around, and she has like all like a completely separate set of weapons. Whereas this is like, no, you're one character and you're equipping like different suits of armor with different abilities, but you're still using the same guns. Which, again, initially I was like, well, that's kind of shit, because surely that just means there's less variation. But but it works. Like, it's because it just means, like, all those weapons are still in there. It's just that you can mix and match with whatever class you want. And it makes sense. Also, it's got swords in it, which are new and very good fun. So, yeah, basically, there's 4 classes, one of which I think I can talk about. So you've got the Ranger, you've got the one that can fly around. There's the one that's like a really sort of heavy suit of armor, which again in previous games you'd have like big heavy cannons and stuff that you could use with that character. Whereas in this, it's just like whatever weapons you take with you, you get 2 of them instead, which seemed like a rubbish cop out, but actually it's really good fun because he's just there with 2 assault rifles, just spraying around everywhere and laughing, and it's really good. And then they've added a 4th one, which is fucking amazing. It's called the Prowl Rider, and the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, like the whole thing. It has this special ability where basically you like climb onto like an ant or a giant scorpion or whatever and ride it round and control it, which is funny as fuck. But it has this movement ability where it shoots these like wires out in front of you and then sends you like like zipping towards whatever you've latched onto. Now, it's not Spider-Man by any means. But actually, like, when you're in missions and you're like, there's like skyscrapers everywhere, you're just like zipping around, just gunning away at stuff like beneath you. Or like if you've got the sword, you can like, obviously the problem with the sword is that it's relatively short range. You can just attach these wires to the enemy and then just charge up your sword hit and then just bash the fuck out of them when you reach them. And it's so much fun. The missions start off pretty boring. It's pretty standard EDF. It's like, oh, mission 1, we are in the city. There are some ants. You should shoot them. But actually, the mission design, again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it gets quite a lot more involved later on. And it skips, like a lot of EDF games have this whole thing. It's like, oh, there are dropships that are dropping ants onto us. Oh, but their armor's too thick. How are we going to defeat them? Oh, same as in every other game, we wait until the hatch is open and then you can shoot like the inside of the ship. They just skip all of that. It's just like, there's no fucking around. And yeah, like there's some really, like actually really cool and exciting, like scripted bits later on. So yeah, I'm really fucking enjoying it. Like we should try and stream it at some point. I mean, James, I know you're not massively convinced, but you've only played a little bit, right?
Yeah, I've only played the first couple of missions, as you said, and was not terribly impressed.
Yeah, no, I get it completely. But I'd be really intrigued if we could stream like a little bit of it, and like when things start getting like really exciting, seeing how you feel. Again, it's always been a series that's not really for everyone, and as I say, I don't think this is going to be the one to like convert everyone. But certainly, like if it's a series you've been interested in, but never really found the time or the cash or whatever, like I would say this is probably the one to get now. That said, EDF 5's like 20 quid on sale at the moment, I think. Which further confuses the matter. But yeah, like I went from being like, it's a different team, don't know how I feel about it, it's not quite the same, to like actually no, this is actually like brought in quite a few new ideas and is probably what the series needed. Which feels shitty to say because obviously it's gone to a different developer, which is, so it's like being quite mean about the people who've been making it for the last 15, 20 years. But yeah, it is a breath of fresh air and I'm properly enjoying it.
Yeah, I guess the difference between like Monster Hunter World is yes, that was different from its predecessors, and a lot of people said the changes were much more user friendly and whatnot, and maybe streamlined. But also, it's just a great game regardless.
Yeah.
But also it feels like that was a bit of an anomaly. It feels like they really found a formula that really, really worked. It was a massive, massive seller for Capcom.
Yeah, and I think like Monster Hunter benefits from the fact that like. Yeah, so it's like third-person melee combat or shooting if you want to play it that way. But like, it's so obviously like its own thing. Like it's really unusual. Like it doesn't quite feel or play like anything else. Whereas when you start playing EDF, you're just like, well, this is a third-person shooter, and I've definitely played better third-person shooters. Like, and it takes a while to really sort of get into like what makes EDF like special and interesting. So. I get it. Like, I'm like initially playing an EDF game, it's just like, well, this is just a cheap, rubbish third-person shooter. So, yeah, I'd be interested to see how it does. I'd be interested to see how it reviews, because I would hope, like, critics give it a fair chance. Like, the series has been going for long enough that there are fans of the series who know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who doesn't really follow the EDF series that much, like how much have the previous games been given a chance by reviewers? Are they reviewed by everyone? Are they like, well, this
not
shit
really,
again?
No, they're pretty sidelined, to be honest.
Yes, I wonder what this does in terms of that. If that does make a change or a difference.
And like I say, I hope it gets a bit of a push. But then it's one of those games where like I could. If I was reviewing it for a publication, I could load the review with caveats like, oh, it's a bit ropey. It's kind of, don't expect like a really polished game or whatever. Or, do you just like explain why you love it and hope that allows more people to get it and maybe calibrate their expectations a little bit, but without being like, oh, it's kind of rubbish, but don't worry about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So... Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it does critically. I will probably still be talking about it for a couple of weeks, for which I preemptively apologise.
You
yeah,
shouldn't
I
apologise,
really like it.
Sean. But do you think people like Chris and your other mates who played the previous ones, are they interested, or
they're interested?
Were previously
again,
games that picked up by you and your crew because they were cheap and it was like a fun multiplayer thing?
Well, this is it. Yeah, like even like as fans of the series, when they bring a new one out and they charge 40, 50 quid for it, you are a bit like, come on, I know this didn't cost that much to make as like other games I've spent 40, 50 quid on. And if they could just put a new one out and be like, guess what, it's 20 quid, I'd just be like, everyone fucking buy this, like you will have a good time, I promise. So that, releasing them at full price is a bit of a barrier. Like what usually happens is that like a new one comes out, like a couple of us buy it, and then in about 3 to 6 months it goes on sale and everyone else follows suit, and then we have a good time with it. Maybe it'll be the same with this one, don't know. But yeah, I really like it.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm definitely up for doing some multiplayer when James gets back, for sure.
Yeah, we should stream it.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Like, I mean, I don't know how you want to play it, Matt. Like, if you want to do a bit first, or if you go in like completely blind, and like so you see like the sort of the way it escalates. I don't know. It's up to you. Like, if you want to play a bit first, that's fine. But just it'd be interesting to just go from mission 1 and be like, yeah, this is quite boring, isn't it? And then 2 hours later, like we're all just screaming. But
yeah, because I never played one before. My only like insight is like you and your crew. We play together. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what it's like for sure. And yeah, I can take Ropey. I mean, I play Ropey games like great fun, so it's not really about that. If it's like if the core gameplay loop is fun, then I'll be up for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. That's me. It is time for emails, or email singular, James.
We have an email, yeah.
We have one email.
If you want to email us, it's podcast@thecomputergameshow.com. Kurt Lewin has, and he says, hi chaps, looking forward to seeing you at Rezzed. There's been a lot of debate surrounding the difficulty of Sekiro, but my question is this. Which games do you think are actually harder than any From Software game? I'm going with Driver 3. The later stages of the game were hard, but particularly a mission called Chase Catalita, which took me and my friends taking it in turns every Saturday afternoon for 16 months before completing it.
Wow,
that's
16
dedication.
months. That is,
I wouldn't have bothered. I thought Driver 3 was terrible anyway. Was I wrong about that?
Wasn't it? It was just really buggy, right? It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it had its merits, but it was just like largely unplayable.
But again, people can still have fun from terrible games.
Yeah,
totally.
I just remember it being the one that came out, and then there was all those accusations about bribery and everything.
Drivergate. Yeah. So I'm trying to think. Like, I know there are games I've tapped out of, despite having finished, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and Bloodborne. One of them is. Did you guys ever play Never Alone?
Yeah, a bit.
The Eskimo one, and it was like it's such a cool idea. Such a cool idea because it's actually like educational. It's like a documentary as well as a game, and the way it does it is quite sort of ham-fisted. It's like you complete a level, then there's a bit of like a video documentary, and then it turns out that like you go into the next level, and then the thing that the video documentary just mentioned like kind of is sort of kind of woven into the mechanics, sort of, or like a story event that's about to happen. Unfortunately, I just found the actual game bits really fucking frustrating and dull. There's like chase sequences in it and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, why am I getting stressed out? This is supposed to be educational, and like it being difficult adds nothing. And the controls were just a little bit unresponsive, and it was annoying me. And I ended up just sacking it off. Which definitely you're just like, I can't imagine the devs ever intended for this to be hard. And maybe it's just me, and maybe no one else had any problems with it.
Was it hard or was it frustrating? And do you think there's a difference?
I suppose, yeah.
Because, that's frustrating. I mean, I'm sure you could have done it, but it's just frustrating enough for me not to even bother. Whereas if it's just rock hard, you might think, well, as a challenge, I'm not up for it. I'm quitting.
Yeah, because I would finish bits of it, but not even be vaguely impressed with myself for having done it. It's like, oh, good, I jumped between these two platforms while this polar bear ran at me, or whatever it was. And it's just like, that wasn't even cool when I did it. It was just really basic. It was just the game was so frustrating and unresponsive that it took me ages to get it right. So, yeah, that is very different from something like a Souls game where, when you do nail it, you're you're two-handing your weapon because you've learned the boss so well you don't need a shield anymore, and you just totally ace it. So yeah, there is definitely a difference between the two.
I think.
What about you guys? Have you got
a lot of the games when I think of like that are mostly because of like bad design or whatever. Or like bad controls or something. Because I mean, I talked about it before. Was Jet Set Radio? No, just Jet Set Radio. I think was that game drove me crazy in places because of controls. And I told you I destroyed a blind once because of it. Because got so angry, ended up just like smashing a blind up because I just genuinely felt like it was not my fault that things were going wrong. It was the game that was doing that. And
I think because Jet Set Radio has the whole thing of like for doing wall rides and grinds and stuff, you're relying on the game to like snap you to certain surfaces.
Yeah.
And and then there are times where you want it to and it doesn't, and then you don't want it to and it does, and that have that feeling of having the control pulled away from you is really annoying.
Yeah. And it just feels unfair, like when it doesn't work, and it's just really very frustrating. But I don't know, I'm struggling to think of any other games which I found like really, really difficult that I've then not wanted to play. I don't know. Have you
I used to get really annoyed. Is it God of War 1 or 2? There's like a section where you're like walking across some like beams like high up and you can't fall off, and then there's like blades spinning round and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just rubbish. And because I died on it like 5 times or whatever, the game over screen then says like, do you want to maybe consider knocking it down to easy? You're obviously struggling. And you're like, no, fuck off, because I can do the fighting. I'm good at that.
Yeah.
It's just, you're now asking me to test completely different skills that haven't really been necessary up to this point. It's just a bullshit, like, walking around on tiny, beams at the top of a high room section, and it's just shit. So don't accuse me of being bad at the game. And I'm really supportive of games that are like, look, if you're struggling with it, don't worry, knock the difficulty down, it's fine. But I don't even think that would have helped on that section because it wasn't even a combat bit,
See, I remember that pissed me off. Like exactly the same as that with Shenmue 2, actually.
Oh yeah.
Because at the end of that, there's bits involving balance beams with that as well. With QTEs, and it's just it's absolutely maddening. And I remember in the end just like looking up like what the commands were and just like hammering the button, like it's like, okay, now I need to hammer A, now I need to hammer right, like that, for the next one, because it was just ridiculous. It was like, because they flashed up so quickly, and it was like it was impossible. I absolutely hated that. That put me off QTEs. I mean, I hate QTEs anyway, like in games. I find them very irritating. But that was one of the first sort of instances of it being terrible.
You got any, Matt?
In terms of like toughest, I mean, my go-to is always Diddy Kong Racing and the race when you're in an aeroplane against the final boss or one of the latter bosses anyway, because it's just when you got hit, you slowly fall back down to the ground, and I smashed my I smashed an N64 pad on the floor because at that point my parents just moved into their new house, and the bedroom I had at the time had like solid sort of like tiles instead of carpet. Right. And I was like, got angry and shot the pad down, and it just obliterated into a million pieces.
Shit.
But also generally my tolerance for hard bits in games I just can't deal with them. I feel like I barely really have time to play games as it is. I'm not really gonna spend hours and hours and hours like struggling when I could play something else. I mean, having said that, I've loved Dark Souls and I'm loving Bloodborne and I'm really loving Sekiro, but I think they're different types of games. I think,
really. With those, you kind of know what you're signing up for with those, and you know that it's a case of like, you just need to keep chipping away, and you can get better, and it'll be fine. It's when things feel like they're out of your control, and it's just like bad design or whatever. It's really irritating. I mean, another game actually I think of that I never finished, and I felt really bad about not finishing, was Banjo Nuts and Bolts. And the reason I never finished that was because I was really trying to do it with collecting everything. Like, I mean, I had, and I got right up to the end where I did have everything, but there was this thing you had to do, which was like a shooting section. And I tried it a couple of times, and I just came to the conclusion, I'm never going to be able to do this. It's never going to happen. So I just cannot be bothered to finish this game now, because I can't finish it 100%, like in the way I wanted to. So I just never did. I just thought, I'm done. I'm done with this now.
Sometimes it's helpful, isn't it, when it's like so obvious that you're not even close.
Yeah.
And you because if you are gradually improving, or you're nearly there, but then you don't quite make it or whatever, it's like, fuck no, next go. I know I can do this. But actually, when you're just so shit you know there's no hope. It's like, well, I'm just not going to bother.
It's just not going to happen. It's just no point in doing this. Whereas I never felt that with the From Software games that I've played. I've always felt, actually, I can probably get better at this, and it'd be fine.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, my other example is Alex Kidd in Miracle World, and that's why I'm going to stream it when James gets back. James and I are going to stream it together.
That's just come out on Switch as well.
Yeah, on Switch this week, isn't it? It's funny though. Yeah, people are tweeting me about it, but I've got my 360 ready to stream on Xbox. Yeah, I never finished that game. That game felt ridiculously hard at the time. Maybe it wasn't, but I'm going to stream it. And I bet I will struggle on that game more than I have struggled on Bloodborne and Dark Souls. I guarantee.
I just thought. Sorry, just quickly. I completely forgot that. What was that game I streamed a couple of months back? The King's Bird.
That was.
I haven't gone back to that since I streamed it. Because watching the trailers, it was like, oh yeah, it's like this cool, like really stylish platformer where it's like, oh, it's all nice and you're flying and running and jumping around and looks great. Turns out it's like really horribly difficult. And again, it's that that unresponsive thing. It just felt like it just didn't feel right. Coupled with like the fact that it has a really bad frame rate on Switch, that really didn't help. So after I streamed it, I had no interest in going back whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a shame because that game looked like something else completely, and then for that to suddenly be rock hard, I was not expecting this at all.
Yeah, unlike PC or PS4, maybe it is a lot easier, and maybe it's the experience I was after, but yeah, not on Switch, unfortunately. I mean, they might have patched it since, I haven't looked, but I don't think I'm bothered.
Cool. That's it for emails. Let's go on to tweets, and we'll follow up with one that's linked. But if you want to tweet, it's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter. We'll start with Oodles Odim on Twitter. The hot debate in gaming at the moment is accessibility and easy modes. Do you think every game should have an easy mode, or should we just accept things that some things are just as they are?
Depends on the type of game, doesn't it? Really. I mean,
do you reckon?
Yeah, because I mean, stuff like Sekiro has been designed.
So this stemmed from a Forbes article, wasn't it? Where the person writing the article argued that it should have an easy mode. I didn't actually read the article myself. I've seen like loads of people tweeting about it, but I've tried to avoid the conversation, frankly. But am I right in thinking that that's the origin, Sean, of you?
Yeah, basically. And it made the entirely valid point that like. Okay, so yeah, everyone's saying like, so Sekiro like shouldn't have an easy mode because it's all about it being difficult and the mastery of it, and that's the point. So get good, haha. Have you noticed that like people who think they're like above saying that just say it anyway? The whole get good thing. They're like, fuck the get good crowd. Also get good, lol, haha. Yeah, whatever. So like. And, and obviously, like, From Software have got a pedigree for this because, like, okay, Dark Souls, like, the whole point is that it does, like, fucking destroy you. Like, just your whole mindset. And that's part of the whole theme of it, is that it is, like, because the whole point of, like, characters going hollow is, because they kept trying over and over and kept dying and eventually lost their minds. So that is key to the game's themes, and I get that. What a lot of people don't seem to grasp is that different people experience difficulty levels differently. Like Hyper Light Drifter, right? When that came out, again, game's supposed to be hard. It's part of the thing. Like your main character's like dying. He's really ill, so he's not in his prime. He's really easy to kill. Like he's still good at zipping around and slashing things, but he dies easily. So that came out, and I was bitterly disappointed because I was so stressed by how hard it was that I just wasn't engaging with it at all. It was just pissing me off, and I just didn't want to play it. They added an easy mode, and it's now one of my favourite games of all time. But not because it was easy. I'm shit enough at that game that an easy mode to me was still pretty challenging, and I felt like I really enjoyed the combat as a result.
Yeah.
Like, unquestionably, my enjoyment of that game and my appreciation of what it was trying to say and how the combat worked was improved by the addition of an easy mode, because I'm just that rubbish at it. Like, me playing on easy mode is the same as someone who's good at the game playing on normal. So to me, I don't see why there's this idea that like a game gets ruined because it's supposed to be hard. It's like, yeah, some people will still find it hard on easy, and no one's like. I don't know of anyone who's like playing it and be like, oh well, I wish I was just killing all the bosses in 3 hits and just like playing through it in 2 hours. I don't see anyone asking for that. I don't know. I find the whole thing bizarre that people are just like.
I think it should be. I think there's two sides to this, because on the one side you've got the idea of like the artistic vision of of whoever's made this and what they want people to experience, because that's kind of what that is. But then on the other side, that you're right. I mean, if you want to experience a game in a certain way, why shouldn't you kind of be able to? This is why. I mean, like Nintendo, they've done that really well, I think, with like their more recent like platformers. Where it's like they've added in stuff like the suits and stuff to make it easier. If it is really hard, you can do that, but you don't have to. Like, you can still get the sense of achievement from finishing it as it was. You don't have to take the easy option out and everything. But I still think it depends on what the person creating it wants, really, because they're the one that are that are putting it together.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people saying, "Oh, well, we don't ask for an easy mode in films or books." But again, as I was saying about like EDF, like a book or a film doesn't stop if you're not understanding it properly. A game does, and that can just be really frustrating and can make someone just give up. Like, okay, you might finish a book or a film and be like, "I'm not really sure I got that," but then you can talk to other people about it, or like that's just like an interpretation thing or like a comprehension thing. Whereas this is like but
isn't that also you getting good as well, because you're like improving your skills to understand it or whatever? I
guess improving your sort of critical understanding, or I suppose. But the point is like that those options are there. Whereas if a film, you watch the first 10 minutes and then there was a fucking quiz about your comprehension of it, and if you failed it, you had to watch it again.
That sounds like a Banjo-Kazooie game.
The point is the interactivity. Yeah, like, okay, so yeah, we are asking things of games that we don't ask of films and books because they are different. And the way that we, experience them is fundamentally different to non-interactive media.
I'm very glad there wasn't a quiz in Lord of the Rings. Have you two ever read that?
Yeah, I haven't read it. No,
there's like the Council of Elrond chapter, which I remember specifically because that was they basically went through like the timeline of every single person around that table, and I we read that chapter like 5 or 6 times because it's like brother of son of this and sister of that, and I was like, what is happening? Still didn't really get it by the end, but at least I understood the order of the words.
And you can still have an experience, like
exactly,
maybe not as good as someone who like really studies it and gets it. And I don't know, it just feels to me like people being really precious and a bit gatekeepy about like, oh well, I improved enough to get this and that was why I enjoyed it. Great, good for you. And I'm not saying like everyone should have to be able to play every game, because realistically that's just not going to happen, like just because of time and stuff. I mean, obviously the other side of this argument is rather than it just being a difficulty thing, it's about accessibility options.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people pointing at something like Celeste, and it's like, well, it wasn't a case of just adding an easy mode. It was like, okay, you can change like how fast the game is or how many times you can use your dash in midair and stuff like that. But again, there are people who use those options and still found it really challenging and enjoyable because they're worse at the game. But that's okay. Why not? Like, obviously in competitive games, these things need to be consistent. But when it's just you versus the computer, who's getting enjoyment out of you dying all the time? Unless
exactly. And if it is an accessibility thing, and they're saying like all games should be available for all people, then people who really want to use those, like assist mode, I think it's called, in Celeste and other easy modes, they don't care. They just want to play the game. They want to experience it and see the cool shit that other people who might be playing on harder modes or might be more attuned to the game systems get to experience. So yeah, I think all games should be playable for all like levels of ability. I think in terms of like the From Software games, I think they're a bit of a special case because the games are all about rewiring your brain almost to think differently about the challenge. I mean, like, everyone says that games are hard. I mean, if they're hard, there's no way I will be able to get through them. Just everyone listening to this now, think about it. I finished Dark Souls. How hard can that game really be if I finished it? I'm also loving Blood.
Ghost Bro finished Dark Souls, Matt.
He finished one of the bosses for sure. But like, you know, that game, it's about learning the game and how to play it. It's challenging because you go into those sorts of games in the same way you go into every other game, thinking, well, if I just do this, this will happen. But no, like, those games are just totally unique and totally different in that regard. And it's like, you will get through it if you understand systems. I mean, I struggle every week when I play Bloodborne, but I will get through it because I will understand and learn the systems and learn how to play it and get through it. It's not like it's not impossible. Whereas some games, I mean, there were some bits in Celeste which are like really, really incredibly tricky, and you know, you had to string a lot of moves together to get to get the other end of the map. And like I think I said when I was talking about the game, like some parts of that game you don't even touch the floor because you're stringing so many different moves and stuff together. But yeah, I think all games should have this. I mean, when people say about easy mode and hard mode, my first example that comes to my mind actually is the Halo series. And I always played those in heroic mode, which is like, there's like normal, I can't remember what that's called, but then there's heroic, which is one difficulty above that, and then legendary. Legendary would typically be saved if I was playing like a four-player version of, like, say, 4-player mode of the first Halo. I thought legendary was an amazing challenge, really a fantastic challenge for 4 of you. But heroic mode, for me, for like perfect for single player, because that was the right level of AI from the enemies, and rather than just like literally blasting through enemies and going through the game that way, I think heroic had just the right level of AI. So I would always recommend, if you can, certainly play Halo, and I'm just really talking about the first one, I guess, mostly, because that's where it's most sort of like relevant, I think. I mean, obviously other games, I've played heroic in all the Halo games, but what I'm saying is the first one was really like, you should play this difficulty mode because the AI is so brilliant and so different at a time.
Yeah.
And so that is, but people will still have fun playing on like an easier mode. It's just that there are games where I think the developer does intend for you to play with a certain level of difficulty and challenge, and those are there for people who want that. But I still think, every game should have easier modes, even if that isn't the intended way that the developer and teams behind the game intended for you to experience that game.
Yeah. James, were you going to...
James?
Yeah, I think it's true. I mean, Halo in particular, I think, had really well judged like difficulty levels with that, because I like you, I played mostly on heroic, but I finished the first one on legendary, like in solo player, and I had a really good time doing that, because it felt a bit like Dark Souls in that sense of like having to keep like some bits I got stuck on for weeks, like just trying to get like through something, and then eventually you do it and you feel like massive sense of achievement. But then when Halo 2 came out, I tried it and I was just like, I'm not actually enjoying this time around. So yeah, heroic is fine. It's fine on this level. But yeah, they were...
I mean, I think the only, like, I can totally get that people might find it a shame where like an easy mode or whatever, like, allows you to get away with not thinking about the game in the same way. Like, you know, where, like, I'm trying to think of an example, but so rather than it just compensating for you being rubbish at it, it's like actually removing elements of it so that there's less to think about. That's a shame. But generally speaking, I can't get annoyed about it. I just can't.
Yeah, I can see why some people would, but games should be for everyone. And if you want to play difficult levels and give you a bigger challenge, do that. But they should be for everyone.
Yeah.
I think we've sort of answered that question in a roundabout way.
Sorted it, mate. No one's going to argue about that ever again now.
Dark J at PlayfulWolf on Twitter. Quick question. Treat myself to the delayed birthday present of Horizon Zero Dawn. What's the longest after release you've played something and thought, this is fun, I should have tried this a lot sooner?
We've been asked this before.
Yeah.
And, same as last time. I was like, I know I've got answers for this. Yeah, Dark Souls, to be fair. I mean, I played it quite a lot when it first came out, but just had such a miserable time because no one knew anything at that point. You couldn't look anything up, unlike James.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then went back to it like quite a lot later and then had a great time with it.
Do you know what's funny about that? You know, like, because I mean, obviously, I played like Dark Souls with David, like with the Dark Horse thing of like not being able to like look things up and just having him guiding me. I still feel uncomfortable looking stuff up for Sekiro because I just think I shouldn't be doing this. Like, I shouldn't be looking stuff up, and it's odd. It's a very odd feeling that.
I'm trying. I know there are definitely examples because I know I've like gone on Twitter and been like, oh yeah, it turns out none of you were lying about this game 5 years ago or whatever.
I mean, my answer for you would be, you haven't played God of War yet. You got that at home.
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah, that needs to
play
happen.
Spider-Man.
I've still got it. Still not played it. Should also play Spider-Man.
Especially after you loving like the animated,
Mm-hmm.
the latest film.
Yeah. Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm up for it. But I can't think of
James?
any good examples.
Well, I mean, I've talked about this before. I mean, definitely like the Yakuza series, obviously. What else has there been more
Did you see
recently?
that April Fool today with like them turning out into a turn-based Japanese JRPG?
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't watch it at all?
No,
It looks amazing.
boring, and it's just more. I mean,
But
April
now
Fools
everyone's
seem
like,
to
actually
be-
release that. You should release that as well because that looked really cool.
April Fools feel really like played out. I mean, they feel played out anyway.
Yeah, but it's
like,
about one of your favourite
particularly-
series of all time. I thought you'd be all over that.
It's just not going to happen, though, is it? I just don't really care.
But are you not interested in the slightest just doing watch a video of one of your favourite games?
But it's not
What
real.
a game
Matt.
that's not going to happen. It's like.
But if I love the series and there's like someone's, the
But
developers
there's
made
already, I mean, Matt, there's already been turn-based stuff in the Yakuza games anyway. I mean, they did like the whole clan, like gang wars stuff, and it was the worst part of the game. So, not really interested. I don't know.
All right.
Wow.
I mean, to be fair, Hollow Knight, we played that technically a year after
That's
it
true.
came out.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, more recently, Red Dead Redemption 2 for me. I mean, it wasn't even that much later, but compared with everyone else, it kind of was. And that was a game where I kept on texting Dave while I was playing it and just saying, like, I can't believe I didn't play this earlier. This is amazing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Oh, I know one. Shit. What was it called? Star something. Fuck. There was one on so it was on the PS3. There was one where it was you were just in a plane flying around. It was one of the first ones they showed off with the fucking tilt controls on the controller. And I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, hang on.
Warhawk?
Yeah, like
Yes,
James.
that's right. And then the sequel was called Starhawk, and
That's
it was in
the one,
space.
Yeah.
And I rented it. It must have been. It was years after it came out because it was back when like Love Film used to exist.
Yeah.
And so
I
it's just
love
like,
that.
so I just stuck it on the list, and then it's like, oh, you've been sent Starhawk, and I was like, oh, okay, I really wanted like one of the other 10 things on my list, but whatever.
You wanted the
I'm getting
bouncer.
Starhawk. Yeah, I did. Starhawk turns up. Bloody good fun. Like it just has this cool thing. Basically like the Titanfall thing of like there are mechs and then there are people on foot, and like people on foot can like call in like structures and stuff. Like defensive structures, and then people in the robots are fighting each other, and it's all going on like at the same time. And on the PlayStation 3 years ago, like it's like it was really impressive. Like and like even just in the story missions, you'd be like you'd fight your way onto a space station and get in it, and then you're like hacking a fucking terminal, and meanwhile you're looking out the window and seeing like the fight going on still, and you're like, oh, this is great. I just love that that sense of scale you get from stuff like that. And but yeah, I then tried to play it online, which is this like fully featured, as I say, this sort of like base building, but also fighting on foot and with robots. And no fucker was playing it because the game was years old, and I believe they turned the servers off not long after. So there you go. There's one.
Yeah, I remember John Davis. Was it John Davison from like One Up used to love that game back in the day? Yeah.
It's just like not amazing, but just really cool and interesting. And famously got loads of shit because they made the main character black. That was the thing. Apparently they had to like argue to make that the case because whoever published it was like, oh, I don't know, you're making someone not white. That's risky, isn't it? It's like fucking hell. I mean, things have moved on, maybe not as much as we'd like, but Jesus, I can't imagine anyone actually being told not to make a character black in this day and age. I would hope.
Yeah. You would hope. You'd hope.
Yeah.
Rafi plays on Twitter. Do you think I should buy a VR headset now, or do you think we'll see a new VR headset model announced soon? PlayStation State of Play show made me think they might show better tech launching later this year. I would say definitely not in terms of them releasing a new one this year. I think that they released a slightly updated version last year, which reduced some of the cables and put the headphones inside the headset attached to it, so it's much better than the version 1 I've got. But actually, I think there will be a new PSVR. PSVR 2 definitely will be coming, and hopefully we'll have advanced, decent tech that isn't using old sort of iToy and PlayStation Move technology, because that was basically a hack. Because they wanted something cheap and cheerful to get out there, and it's a massive difference to any like PC based VR. If anyone tries a Vive or Oculus and then tries PSVR, there is like an absolute gulf of difference. But again, PSVR is good enough. I think that shows that the mainstream are happy with good enough. But in terms of a new headset, I think they will come, but probably after PS5. I mean,
I was going to say, because surely PSVR, like the resolution it's at and stuff, is pretty much the limit of what the PS4 can do.
Yeah, exactly. Point. Yeah, I mean, it's going to require that extra processing power of PS5. I mean, it would be. I don't see them releasing like a bundle on launch day of like console and PSVR, because that'd be like £800 or something crazy. But I would certainly think shortly after PS5 is shown, then or sold, go on sale, I think we'll get PSVR 2 then. And I can't wait, because even PSVR's good enough technology has given me some incredible experiences. I mean, it's nothing like, I've been on Vive and Oculus, and like, that is, the Vive particularly is like true room scale, that is true like VR, and it's absolutely mind-blowing, because you really feel like you're in these locations, whereas PSVR, obviously, it's very much geared towards just you staying in one location. It's not room-based. You can stand up for games like Beat Saber, or sit down for games like Astrobot, and arguably PSVR has got the best software library of the three major ones. But I can't wait for PSVR 2, especially if they do update the tech, and they feel like they're really going gung-ho in terms of software now. I mean, state of play and loads of VR stuff. They've sold through 4.2 million PSVR units, so they're crushing it in terms of the opposition, and I'm excited to see what they do next, really. They've actually been they've been pushing it much more than I think a lot of people might have thought they would do, given, you kill PSP and didn't bother with Vita. It feels like
because it wasn't like... And it wasn't like an astronomical launch, was it? It was because it was quite expensive. People weren't really sure if it was going to pan out. So it's been a bit of a slow burn. So yeah, I think if like at any point in, I mean, okay, it had a really good Christmas last year, I think. But like prior to that, if Sony had sort of turned around and been like, yeah, we're probably just going to slowly let that go, to be honest, I don't think anyone would have been that surprised.
No, definitely not.
But it's really, they do seem to be sticking with it. So.
I mean, I think a massive part of that, one, like games like Astrobot, obviously massive, our game of the year, and it's just an incredible game. But then also, they have done a lot of sales, a lot of bundles. Obviously, like the big one of Christmas, it was like Astrobot. Well, there's a couple, but basically, loads of places were selling it for like £200, weren't they? And so there's been loads of really great bundles. Loads of people have jumped on it, and loads of people have said, "Oh, I'm waiting for this." And they're like, £200, I'll jump on that. That plus the games. I mean, I think there are so many good games of PSVR. Even when a lot of people said there was no games for it, after a few months after launch, there were games coming out that weren't like huge bangers. And I was playing mine quite regularly. There's obviously gaps, but this isn't like a full-time peripheral. It's like, and people are saying, well, you pay £200, how can it not be? But I think right now VR isn't certainly PSVR, but there's been a steady trickle, and for the next few months there's tons of games I'm looking forward to. I mean, like Giant Ghost is out in April. That game looks fantastic. Obviously in May there's the new one, and I think it's like Blood and whatever it is, they're basically the game from the guys
who did Lies or something. I can't remember.
It's basically it's like the London Heist, the next game from those devs. There's tons coming. It's a great time to get a VR headset, but just don't expect it to be a full-time thing. But I don't think we'll see one this year.
Because obviously everyone knows what I've been playing because I talk about it every week into a microphone and put it on the internet. I haven't spent as much time on it as I thought I would. I think, so like if you're wary about PSVR, it's not the tech, it's not the games, it is just finding the time to put a headset on and be not present in your own house. Like, do you know what I mean? To me, that's the larger barrier. Like, I've got loads of stuff I need to play, and a listener kindly sent me some Move controllers, so I've got loads of stuff I really want to get into. It's just finding the time to be like, I'm gonna put on a helmet and not exist for 2 hours.
Yeah, but I wouldn't ever dream of doing that ever. Like with when the family are awake. I said,
that's what I mean. Yeah, it's like
We're not
it's
going to
waiting for okay, everyone's asleep. I haven't even got the baby monitor, so I don't need to worry about the baby waking up, or things like that. So I'm off work this week, and I've got a couple of days fully to myself.
Oh my god,
so
Sean, please! I mean, you've got access to my library, right? Please try Beat Saber.
Yes.
Super Hot VR. There's probably there's tons in my library. Just please, just even if it's 5 minutes, try Beat Saber. You've got Astrobot to finish.
Yep.
Tons of other stuff.
Again, and what I've played of Astrobot, it's oh my god, this is as we've said, it's up there with the best 3D Mario games for me. I hadn't played it last year, but when I did eventually play it, I was game of the year, fine. I'm quite happy with that. It is stunning, and yet I did the first world and was this is incredible, and then I haven't been back because I'm an idiot. So
please try and find some time this week.
I will.
So good.
Promise.
So good, yeah. So if you're going to get PSVR, I mean, obviously, famous last words, they probably announced for next week, but I can't see them doing anything this gen now. I don't think they'll be doing it. I think they'll say next gen, new PSVR, new headset, new technology, decent controllers, etc. Because the Move controllers aren't great. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Can we kill this soon? Because I've really got to pack my stuff. Leave
this in, Matt. Leave it in. Don't edit this out.
So you're leaving tomorrow morning at 6:30, aren't you, James?
Yeah.
You should have that's packed before your podcast night.
Well, I probably should have done, but I've been at work all day, so it's a bit difficult to do all that and
back in the evenings, isn't it?
Organise all the stuff.
Should have done it last night. No, it's fine. Whatever. Yeah. We'll do a couple more and then.
Well, we'll do one last one. Mike at MikePetty89. How angry is Matt that Farley's not being at the live show means he can't change all the show's social media gifs and branding because one of you are missing? Yeah, I'm absolutely livid. Absolutely, Mike. Not every week do I get people saying, when I post the questions tweet and Dave's in the GIF, Dave isn't on the show, and now we can't use any of this new stuff because James isn't on the show. It's
we need to just meet up and then just do every possible combination of people missing so that we're covered in every single eventuality.
Yeah, that would be brilliant, actually. Yeah, we should do that. Someone said we should just use a random member of the audience and then just because no one's going to know what James looks like. Although everyone does now because he's in the Twitch emotes. Yeah, I'm not happy, but there you go. We'll have to wait. Hopefully everyone's available at EGX and then we've got some new stuff to put on the website and that. But
that'd be cool.
Right. I know we've already done housekeeping, but we'll do it again. We're at Rezzed on Saturday. If you're in the area, please come. And also, you don't need.
We're going to get messages, Matt. We're going to get messages. It's fine. Do it.
Who cares?
You're just trying to annoy me, aren't you, Matt?
Yes, I am actually, James. But yeah, we're doing a live show, Saturday this Saturday 4 p.m. You just need a standard day ticket. But we're also doing a meet afterwards at the Minories. It's just a
Minories.
Is it called Minories?
It's actually, so someone we haven't got around to it. Someone sent us a question saying, "Is it Minories or Minories?" I checked. It is Minories.
Is it? Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Well. I'm so sorry, everyone's probably going to the wrong pub, but don't go to the Minories, go to the Minories. It's just a very short walk from Town Hill Tube from 6:30 on Saturday. You don't need to obviously go to Rezzed to that. If you're in London or you want to come out for a chat and a drink and meet up, that'd be awesome. We'll be in there from 6:30 on Saturday at the Minories pub. They've got food, they've got drink. So yeah, that's Rezzed this Saturday. Hopefully we'll see tons of you down there. Excited to do the live podcast. Dave will be there. James unfortunately won't, but yeah, Rezzed on Saturday. I can't wait.
Yeah, man. Really looking forward to it. Right. That's us. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. See you on Saturday, probably. Well, statistically, probably not, but, whatever. The people who count, the people who really matter are going to be there.
All the good ones.
Sure. Yeah, totally. But apart from James, obviously, yeah. I mean, that's your fault, James. That's not on me, is it? But yeah, other than that, cheers and thanks for letting us be natural. See you next week.
Bye.